15 past. Thank you, Alex. Thank you very much for this wonderful introduction and briefing about the class curriculum and the objectives. Hello, class. This is Manish Gupta here. I am working as a CFO with a large hotel chain in Myanmar, and I have been researching on AI tools, whether it's ChatGPT, Llama, or Cloud A, or any other tools. And I have seen the AI tools are getting developed exponentially, helping the various aspects of our daily life. So, as a finance professional, I'm quite enthusiastic to learn how ChatGPT affects my daily work when I'm doing a financial planning or budgeting or forecasting, or whether it's just analysis part. And this class is a result of my research that has been there. So I'm going to share you my experience. So today we are going to talk about budgeting and forecasting using AI tools. So we will not use AI tools for every single aspect, and do not expect that AI will be able to do all the budgeting and forecasting all alone by itself. It may help you on certain steps of doing the budgeting and forecasting. So we will look at those steps, how it can help, and how much help you can take from AI. Not everything can be done by AI, but certain things can be streamlined, can be make easier for time saving and for accuracy for the finance professionals. So while we are going through the classes, I would like to know my audience, who are you and what are you working on, and what is your objective for joining this class? What exactly are you expecting to take home uh, from this class? I will be sharing what you will take home anyway in a few minutes, but I would like to know from you as well, so that I can gain a perspective of what you expected and what I am delivering. So I would like you to please put in the chat panel a brief introduction about you. If you like, you can share it directly with me only in private, or you can share in the public, as you like it. Just put your name, where you are, what company you are working on, and what is it that you would like to take away from today's class. While I'm explaining the process of the this class, and while we are working on explaining the things how we are going to take this class moving forward. So please take 2 minutes, be engaging, be questioning everything, and ask a lot of questions to get the best value out of this class. So we this class is about a, you can say, is a practical guide for finance professionals, where we will be looking at the budgeting and forecasting, and also we will be looking at the how we use these tools in financial planning and forecasting. As you know, budgeting and forecasting is not just a finance tool to do the numbers. It's more a business planning tool. So we will be looking at those aspects as well. So here we are going to look at why it's important for the budget. So in this class, I will be taking you through a framework that I personally use when I'm doing the budgeting forecasting exercise at my hotels. I've been doing the budget and forecast for last 10 years now, for hotels and for startups, and also for some other businesses that I am helping as a consultant. I am helping a few startups in UK and US as well, to help them make their financial analysis, their financial statements prepared, and their annual planning exercises. So, in this class, we will be looking at some theoretical aspects of budgeting and forecasting based on the practical tips that I use, and also which AI tool can help you with it. So, primarily, we are going to look at ChatGPT, we are going to look at the free version and the paid version, both. And we'll be looking at Perplexity. There's another AI tool. There are a few more AI tools which we are not going to go into coding and too much deeper into the AI tools, because usually it takes long time to iterate the process. So we may not be able to do everything live, but you will get an idea of how you can use it, what are the limitations from my experience, and where you can use it effectively. So the importance of the budgeting and forecasting is, you might already be well aware of that, budgeting and forecasting is a very important aspect for the business to be able to help the businesses make decisions when it's uncertain, when it's not really clear where we are going, or to make things clear when things when to make things for the future, right? So you do a annual budgeting exercise, you make a plan for your company based on your business mission, vision, and your 3 years for 5 years goal. For some startups, it's just only 1 year goal. For some, it's just only 6 months goal. So you can do budget for any period depending upon your particular needs. For well-established companies, usually we do 1 year and in details, and then another 2 to 3 years in summary form, so that we know where the company is heading towards in the next 3 to 5 years, and where the company should be heading in the next 12 months. And it helps the large organizations make their decisions quickly, because they know what are the priorities, what they need to achieve, what are the targets they need to their department need to achieve, and what are the boundaries for expenses, whether in terms of absolute value or in terms of relation relative to the businesses. So that helps every decision maker make their decision. So that is very important aspect of the budgeting and forecasting, the decision making and planning. The another aspect of budgeting and forecasting is the resource allocation. So, while doing the budgeting and forecasting, normally the companies allocate the resources in terms of manpower, resources in terms of capital, resources in terms of allocation of the CEO time, or the initiatives, whether it's the external or internal. So all the talent. So all of this is a very useful, and some a lot of time these resources are constrained. So while doing the budgeting and forecasting, you choose your battles, because the world is open, especially for companies which are working in the general warfare, not any specific product. There are a lot of battles to fight. So when doing the budgeting and forecasting, you choose your battles, which one you want to go after, and how much you are willing to invest into that particular battle, whether it's market penetration, whether it's value generation, whether it's customer service, whether it's innovating a new product, whatever is the importance for the organization moving ahead, you can emphasize in the budgeting and forecasting. and it works as a communication tool as well, where you can communicate all the priorities down until the level of the person who are making decisions and executing the plans. So we have been using the spreadsheets. Most of you might be using spreadsheets for the budgeting. And nowadays there are some tools available which are used for financial planning like Live Plan, Cognos, SAP. There are multiple options which were available for doing the budgeting and forecasting. IBM, they have all generated their own particular tools. Some are good for doing the budget. Some are just compiling the data and presenting into a useful format or collaboration. So that is why that for very large organizations and consolidations. So I have been using these tools as well in the past as part of a international hotel chain called Shangri-La, and I have used spreadsheets as well. In my current organization, we have been using spreadsheets for last 5 7 years for budgeting and forecasting. We set up the financial models, we set up the collaboration tools, we set up the templates, and we have been using them for now. Now, at this point of time, AI is available, and there are a lot of tools which are available in the market which can help you generate the models, financial models like Live Plan, or there are some other chat gpt extensions for Excel or for Google Drive, which can help to set up the templates, to set up the formulas, to set up the linkings, but they are still in very infancy stage. There's no tool at this point of time which can generate a financial model just out of nowhere. There are some which are very standard, not really specific to the company needs. So you still have to do a lot of manual intervention into the process. So we are going to look at that as well. And there are some many tools which are available, which we are going to see, which can help the organizations to learn from the data, big data, where maybe your company has been established for, let's say, last 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and you have accumulated a lot of data over the years. If there is no change in the business plan, which is not the case at the moment because of COVID, every thing has been disturbed. So whatever trends you used to have before COVID may not be applicable now anymore. But now with AI and the political disturbances in many parts of the world, uh, the relevancy of the current data, it's not really very effective in most of the cases. There may be some exceptions, but most of the cases you may not be able to use the past trends as a prediction for the future. But still, it's worthwhile to learn, because in the coming days you will be able to use these tools, learning tools for predictive forecasting, to analyze the data. So it's worthwhile to learn them now. Okay, so there are certain guidelines, that there are general things that we normally use. You can call them a bit of best practices, but they are very fundamental things when we are doing the budgeting and forecasting process. So one of them is modular approach. So when we are developing the budget, we always make modular approach. So like for example, if it's a large company, I give you an example of the hotel. Hotels usually have multiple departments, right? We have front office department, we have restaurants, individual restaurants. There can be multiple restaurants in one hotel. There are spa, telephone, laundry, multiple revenue generating opportunities. So what we do generally is we make the budget module wise. Each and every department will have their own budget. They have their own revenue budget. They have their own expense budget. They have their own labor budget, so that we get to and then ultimately at the surface level, we consolidate all the data into one for one particular hotel. So it's not like we start to make a budget for the entire hotel from the top, and then we go down into the details. We start from the modules, individual modules. So for any company, it could be production department, sales and marketing department, finance department, HR department, marketing, and any other department which can be considered as a separate entity or a module. Normally, the planning is done by that particular module itself. The benefit of this is that it's easier to plan a small entity by that particular department, and you can go deep dive details into the module. And if once we are planning the modules, but once we are making the plans by modules, and then we link up to the consolidate in the whole format, then it's much easier to change anything, because you can just need to go and change that particular module. And some and most of the time we link together all the modules so that changes in one module is going to easily reflect in the other modules. So that is why we prepare budgets in modular approach, so that we are not really have to change the entire thing. The second thing is feedback loops. What is the meaning of feedback loops? It makes two things. One is that we are using the data, and we want to always have a check with what is reality. Right? When you are forecasting for, let's say, next 3 months, and you are saying that your sales is going to grow by 20% per month on a month by month approach, what we need is a real time or a real world integration with the market trends or with the increase with the competitors data, so that we can see whether what we are predicting it's is realistic or not. So you need to build the feedback loops, to with the real world data, so that we can check, have a sanity check in our processes. The other part of the guideline is documentation. Now, documentation is a very, very important part for budgets when we are making the budget for large teams, and especially when it has to be communicated to people who are not really making it. So, let's say you are making a budget as a finance professional, right? And now it has to be communicated to a sales and marketing department. How would he know how you have allocated, let's say, $100,000 for digital marketing? What was the basis, and what it is for? Where is going to be spent? Whether he's supposed to spend on Facebook, whether he's supposed to spend on the website, whether he's supposed to launch an app, and if you have made it clear why is that allocation important, how you have allocated, and how you are going to measure whether the investment is going to be successful or not, right? So the documentation of the end process, assumptions, calculations, logics, all of this is a very, very important aspect in budgeting. In throughout the budgets, you will need to build in the audit trails, the formulas, and everything else, so that you anybody who is not preparing the budget, and if they come to see, they know, okay, how is it being prepared, what was the logic, what was the assumption, and how is it linking to from one place to another place. um, at this point of time, AI is not able to create those data trails, so you cannot use it 100%. Because if you ask AI to generate a prediction for, let's say, next 3 months, it will do a statistical analysis. It will create that, but you will not be able to gain any idea of how he has done it, what kind of documentation, what kind of integration it has, or the formulas it has used, how he has arrived at number, because there is no explanation for this. So it's very difficult uh, for audit trails, unless you ask to note down step by step and you keep a record of the workings, then it's usable. Another aspect of this is that, especially when you are making a budget today and after 2 months, because of the overload of information in the actual versus budget, or new information which is coming to your mind every single day, you may forgot already by yourself how did you did the budget. And this is something I have experienced many times. I made the budget after 3 months. When we are looking at our actual numbers and we compare with the budget, a lot of time I used to forget, hey, why I come up with this number, how did I allocate a certain amount of percentage in this particular head of expense, uh, when there is no other trace, or there is no other trend, or there is no other precedent to be able to do that. uh, when we dig deeper, when we ask the people, then we need to when we find out, oh, we planned for certain expenses in these months, but because it was never documented, it was never communicated, and then it was never executed as well. So now we don't even remember why we are doing this. So it used to happen a lot with me. Then we started to put the every single line, every single calculations in the Excel files, why we are doing what we are doing, and how we arrive at the logic. Some of the things may seem trivial to you, that because you are doing the budget and you know the numbers by your heart, and you think, okay, that is very clear, or it's very simple. If I look at it again, I will understand. That is fine. But the other peoples who are not aware of the process, they may not be able to find it that easy. So that happened. This has happened to me a lot of times. That's why I emphasize on documentation. The other part is user interface. Now, the user interface does not mean that we are going to develop an app, but even if you are using a spreadsheet, make sure we highlight columns, headings, formulas, or we block the editing of the formulas. We use similar fonts, colors, schemes, and also the cells orientation, gaps between the two different tables, so that is easy to read. It's not a hodgepodge. So that just like you are developing an app or you're developing your website, you pay attention to the user interface, you pay attention to the color, you pay attention to the spacing, you pay attention to the where the alignment of the pictures, font size, everything, right? Similar way, when we are developing the budget, you have to think that you are going to use this budget for the next whole year, and you have to keep coming back to it all the time. And many people will do that. So you have to build. When you are building it, make sure you are building it in a proper setting, so that's easy to read and easy to understand. So these are the four foundational guidelines that I use in my budgeting process, and you should also follow. Okay, moving on, we will be looking at the framework. So I will explain the framework in a little bit now, and then we will go deep dive into each and every step of the budgeting process. So the step one is usually we review our strategic plans and objectives. So we in this process we just take an overview of the business, where the business has been or where the business want to go. What are the competitors doing? What are the industry doing? How is the country doing? And all those kind of things. Here, yes, AI can be helpful because it's like a market research kind of process. AI can help in that, and I will share with you some of the techniques how we do that and the pitfalls. Second step, after you have created after you have understood where the strategic direction we are going to go, we have set up the goal, we have set up the goals for this year, we have set up the KPIs for this year, we know how we are going to track ourselves. Then we start to create a realistic assumptions. How, what are we assuming? Because there are certain parts which are facts, which are real facts, and there are certain things which we assume. So since we are doing budgeting and planning for future, we always have to assume certain things. We always have to assume that, okay, the customer growth or the customer base is going to grow by 10%, or the US economy is going to grow by 2%, or the world economy is going to grow by 6%, or the Chinese economy, if my customer base is in China, is going to grow by 6%, or India is going to go by 8%. These are all assumptions. Even though you have a basis of saying that World Bank has been giving us this, or the IMF has been giving us this data, but they are still assumptions because these are not facts. But if you say yes, the Chinese economy has grown by 6% in the past 5 years, that is called a fact. So we have to separate facts and assumptions. And in budgeting exercise, we have to use assumptions. We have to make certain assumptions. How the economy will grow, how we will grow, how the prices will grow, whether what will be the price, what will be the exchange rates, will be the fuel prices, if we are going to have the business. whether the AI will continue to spread at this rate. So it means that the processing data or the rates, the subscription rates of many of the softwares are now declining, right? Because of the AI, or some of them are increasing because of the AI. So you have to make those assumptions carefully. Okay. Then we analyze our current data. If our organization has been in the process, in the existence for, let's say, 2 years, 3 years, we normally analyze our own current data as well and establish the trends with our own operational expertise, so that we know if we are going to target more sales, how is it going to affect our expenses. If we are going to target certain customer segments, how it will affect our operations, what we would need in order of expenses, or in order of to execute that particular goals. So understanding the current data and trends is important, but again, you don't have to rely on 100% on this data, because these are just the numbers, right? You don't have to, you cannot rely on them 100%. Then the next step is create the action plans. We create the scenarios. We incorporate the new ideas and assumptions into our existing data, so that we can say, okay, this is what it's going to be, the trend, how, if I'm targeting certain goals, what are the assumptions, and what are the trends that I have been using in the past, so that we can make a forecast for the future. And that is the fifth step. We create the forecast based on our existing models. We create the models for creating the forecast. So this is a very crucial step, because here a lot of times we make mistakes by combining the data, by hurrying up the models, and not providing enough details for future references. So there you have to slow down a little bit and make sure we prepare the forecast, or we prepare the models in details. I will show you some examples. Then we compile and summarize the data. So since I said, we normally prepare the budgets and forecast in module basis. So since we are doing also in module basis, we normally do compilation and summarizing the data. So we use some tables and visualizations, summaries, graphs, charts, so that we can present a summarized version and see whether it makes sense or not. We compare with the budget, we compare previous year budget, we compare with the previous year numbers, we compare with the our assumptions and our mental model of where we wanted to reach and where we are actually reaching in terms of budget. We look at the competitors, ComSet, and the industry benchmarks as well, to see whether we are aligned in that process or not. Then we do error check, uh, so that we can make sure that there is no error in the budget, at least technical errors, formula errors. If you are making a error, or a wrong estimate, that's fine. But so far as you don't make an error in formula, so that you don't make an error in the consolidation. I can tell you, I was making a formula in the Excel file, and when I was calculating, there was last minute changes in the budget. So the last, I forgot to, I added one row just before, just above the total column, and I forgot to update the sum formula in that budget. And it was a big number. It was a large number. It was around $20,000 a month of expense, which I missed in the formula. So I put into the budget, but I forgot it the formula, and I just presented the consolidated number, and then we uploaded all the files, everything. Everything was ready, was happy, profit was good, but I did not realize that I forgot a $20,000 worth of expense put into the budget. So when next year we were analyzing the actual versus the budget, we find out, oh, our actual expenses are much higher than the budget, and then we realize individual line by line. Since I had the details in the table, I was able to say, oh, we have this budget. But suddenly then I realized that the total doesn't match. So I checked the formula, and then I realized I made a mistake in the formula. So formula editing, especially in Excel, is very very important, and we make a lot of mistakes in this process. So especially in the last minute, in the hurry when we are making last minute changes, there a lot of mistakes happen. And then we review, final review, we make adjustments, because the budgeting process is not a one shot. It's not like you prepare everything and then it's finished. You may have to keep on reiterate, because you may change your course, you may change your KPIs, you may change your allocations. So that's why we have to make the adjustments. We have to review, keep on reviewing it. It may normally take about 2 to 3 iterations to finish a budget. So that was a framework of the how we make budgeting and forecasting. Uh, Now we are going to look at the entire process one more time into deeper details, and we're going to take one case study. It's a dummy case study, as you can see from the name of the company itself, Tech Savvy Inc. So we are going to assume that Tech Savvy Inc. is a technology company, and it utilize the is working on a SaaS model, and the SaaS model is the product is making budgets and forecasts using AI. So I just made it up just on now that let's do a company which makes a platform based on AI to do the budgeting and forecasting for the businesses and their decision making. That's the financial planning. So this is going to be our case study, and we are going to use this case study to do everything. So in our step one, we were looking at the strategic plans. So when you are looking at your strategic plans and objectives, the first thing that comes in our mind is always our own internal SWOT analysis, right? So you can look at the SWOT analysis of the company. Now, how AI can help you? AI may not be able to understand the SWOT of the company itself. You have to do it yourself only. There is no way AI can know the strengths and weaknesses of the company. You can present it your business model and say, okay, what are the risks and weaknesses in this data? So you can do that. Now, before this, let me ask you, how many of you have been using AI tools, any kind of AI tools? Can I get a response in chat panel? How many of you are using AI tool, any kind of AI tool? Oh, if yes, what kind of that? What kind of AI tool is that? Have you explored ChatGPT as already or not yet? Can I get an answer? How many of you are already aware of using these ChatGPT tools? If not, then I will explain you a few basic steps. If you are already aware, then we will skip that part. Okay, so let me explain you how we use ChatGPT or any kind of AI tools, right? So AI tools basically are a large language model which are being developed open source by many companies now. Um, Many they are there is a openai.org, there is a Google, there is Meta, Facebook, there is Apple. There are many companies nowadays who are using openai open models for developing the large language models. So large language models basically are a data processing things. They take all the data and they learn from the data. by reading all the books, making summaries, and completing the tasks. So they can even generate the codes by learning from it. So they are basically, they learn the language, they learn the data, they learn the text, and then they output the text as well. There are open AI, open source models now. A lot of artificial intelligent engineers are working on to train the data. There has been many versions issued so far in ChatGPT. It started with Chat GPT 4, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5. Now it's 4. And as the news come out, the GPT is going to launch GPT 5 as well very soon in the future. Similar to OpenAI, there are many companies who have issued similar models. There is a one is called Perplexity, and it used Chat GPT-4 as a base model. But there are different models. There is a website called poe.com. If you are not aware, you can take a look at this particular website. It's like a window for exploring any kind of model. So if you when you log into this website by using your Gmail account or even without login, you can create a new chat and you click on more. So here you will see it has integrated assistant. It's Cloud developed by Cloud. There are few models by Cloud Instant, Cloud Instant 100K, and Assistant. And there is a GPT-4, Chat GPT. They are developed by OpenAI. Llama, which is developed by Meta. Google Palm is generated by Google, and there are some other tools which are available here. There are a few more now. Still, there are new more which are being developed every time. Now, for example, like Code Llama is a coding tool. Llama 2 is a text generative AI. So these are the tools which are available. Some of them are free, some of them are paid, and that's why they have a limited access only. So like GPT-4 is a paid subscription. So if you have not subscribed to the paid Chat GPT, I would not ask you to subscribe now because you can look at the class first, and if it's usable for you, you can explore it. Otherwise, you can skip that part. So these are the models. So every model is just a model, right? How you interact with the model, there are two ways to interact with the model. You can interact directly into your own workspace by using API keys. It's a bit technical. I don't have a technical knowledge of this, but I understand the basics. So I'm explaining you. So you can interact with these models using an API key, which you can download or you can create your own by going to their individual platforms. So OpenAI has their own API keys. Llama has their own API keys, which you can use in your organization or you can in your own websites to have an interaction with the model directly. Or you can use their chat interface version. So that's why they are called chat GPT, because it's a chat enabled, chat based interface to talk to the large language model, which is GPT 3.5 or 4. GPT 3.5 is free, is very fast, and is normally okay for 90% of the task. GPT-4, it's also it's not very fast. It's a slower now, and it's getting slower in version. Now, today I was exploring this. It's it's getting slower and slower and slower. And but the benefit of GPT-4 is that it has few additional tools which you can use. For example, like advanced data analysis tool. You can give it an Excel file. You can upload an Excel file here like this and get it analyzed. So it will analyze automatically using Python language. And there are certain plugins which also can be used. Plugins can be used to read YouTube files, can be used to read the video files, audio files, or generate the images, or do a lot of other things which you cannot do with only a text version. So you can explore the websites as well with GPT-4. The only thing is you have to use a plugin. Otherwise, GPT-4 does not have a internet access, or it cannot explore the web uh, even without plugin. Even GPT-4 cannot do that. GPT 3.5 can definitely not do it. So that's the overview of ChatGPT, right? So how you interact with these? You have to use a command to give it to it, and then it will give you back. So you can use this we call prompt. And to be able to use the AI properly, you have to create a very good prompt, a detailed prompt, so that you can instruct it clearly. Since we are going to use this a little bit here, so I can explain to you. So let's say we are developing this app, right? We can ask GPT-4 or ChatGPT to search for us. So either you can use GPT-4 plugin for internet search, or there is other another way you can have GPT enabled capability, but with an internet access. That's called Perplexity AI. So this tool can explore the internet, can explore the web, and give you the answers based on AI. And it used GPT-4, so it's quite fast and accurate. So we can ask this, but this is not free. The free version gives you only 5 commands in a day. So you have to be very careful. If you're not paying money for using it, then you have to be very careful in how many commands you can ask. So it just go 5 in every 4 hours. So if we run out of it during this class, I cannot reuse it. So I will be very careful in using this, because I have certain command that I want to explore show you how to use them. But there is another one which is Bing. It's developed by Microsoft, and it also use GPT-4. So you just go to Edge, and there you will find a icon called B, small b, and then you can click it, and you can say more precise or more balanced or more creative. I normally do more balanced. So I say conversation style, how you want to use it. So let's say if I want to ask ChatGPT about the strength and weaknesses in our business. Now, for our purposes, for our course, we come back to our course, and we look at how we are going to understand the industry trends and macro market analysis. Now, I'm not going to use AI for SWOT analysis, because it will not help that much. We have to do the SWOT analysis by ourselves. But what we can do is we can understand the competition through ChatGPT. So what we are doing is we have to give a clear command, right? Clear prompt, how we command it. So normally as a best practice, I always type my command, my prompt in a just a Word document or in a text document, and copy paste into the GPT model, just for the sake of easiness, because here you can go back and henceforth. So the model that I use, the framework I use for prompting is called Price, Price. You can take a note. P means profile, R means relevant information, I means individual command, and then we can say, so the price is a framework that I use on an example. So here we are going to give it a profile. So we will say, okay, you are an AI enabled business analysis assistant, right? So we have to give that profile to the chat gpt, how we want it to behave, right? So that is a very important part that you should normally should do. For normal tasks, if you want to just rewrite something, or want to get a research, or want to explore the internet, you don't have to really provide that. But since we have a very specific purpose, we are using it for our business purposes, and we want it to work as a business analyst, so you have to give it a profile. Then you have to provide a relevant information of about the context of why we are asking what we are asking, right? So you have to provide that to the chat gpt. So let's say, okay, we are working on a startup called Tech Savvy. It is a SaaS based business model. We help companies carry out business planning, budgeting, and forecasting using AI tools, right? Then we have to tell the other information of what we exactly are looking for, right? What do we really want? So they have to provide an additional information to it. So we can say we would like to explore competition and industry competition information on similar services and industry trends on SaaS for best business models. Now you say, okay, this is what you want to do. Now you have to give it exact command of why, what do you exactly really want AI to do. Do you want to do a research? Do you want to explore the name? Do you want a list of competitors, or you just want to understand the general industry growth? And you have to make sure that just giving it only one command at a time. You cannot give it too many commands at single time in a single phrase. Um, Otherwise it will get confused, or it will ignore many of them and just provide answer to only few of them. So that's a very very important step in doing. When we You can always ask follow-up questions. So when we are doing a second command, we don't have to give the context or pri. You can go on with the command only directly. So that you have to remember, right? So because it can remember its context up to a certain level. So we have to give a single command. So let's say I want to know, okay, I please help me with identifying competitors and their key features. You can give it an example. E means example. So you can, if you have an example and in any specific format, you can give it to it, or you can tell it how you want that information. So you have to tell it, otherwise AI will choose the best delivery method. So you can say, example, I would like it to be in a table format. Column 1, competitor name. Column 2, location or country. Column 3, key features. Column 4, any customer reviews. You can ask. So you can ask it. You can give this command. Now you can copy this. Once you are happy with it, you can give it to it. Again, remember this is just only a experiment basis. You may get your answer and you may not get your answer. Oh, sorry, I copy the PRICE as well. Anyway, I think it will understand. So it can do it while it's doing it. So here you can see it can generate you certain information. Oops, it's giving you a lot of information. Adaptive analytics, Anaplan. Okay, here is the information you can ask. Give me three more competitors. Add another column to highlighting their pricing method. So you can definitely ask a follow-up question, but it depends whether it will be able to give it or not, and whether it will be able to give it pricing method or not. So it depends on the whether company that information is available online or not. If not, you may not be able to get the answer. If yes, you may be able to get the answer. And now after this, you can just copy this into your Excel file and you will get it. Now, next work you have to do again. So you have to get asked the follow-up question about this particular company, and you have to get more information about it. So here is the information. You can see it can generate. I can expand it. How do I expand it? Here, I can expand it here like this. So you can see subscription based. We didn't add anything. IBM, Adaptive, Anaplan, and then there is Oracle, Hyperion, SAP BSE, and Probix. So these are the companies which have been there. It took some of these customer information, customer feedback as well. So you can review whether whether we are providing these kind of uh, features or not in our system. So it will help you to generate the SWOT analysis as well by doing your own understanding. So you can do that. You can continue and ask different questions. We can, if you would like, to copy this and ask a different tool. Let's say we want to ask. I want to check whether the information is complete or not. I can give it to a Perplexity and see, do I get a different result. So I can remove this now. It does not seem to make any impact, but it's just semantics that we want to do. So here with the benefit of uh, Perplexity and Bing both is that they give you a reference of how and where they are going to get this particular data. So they have a link. You can see here they provide a link of Gartner or Gflare or any other thing. In this particular command, they did not do, but there is a link to where ChatGPT is getting the answer. So you can obviously copy the links in your documentation so that you know where I get this particular information. The benefit of Perplexity is also the same. It gives you a reference of where this particular information is coming from, and you can ask it make a reference. So here are the information which they are coming which they are getting. If you would like, you they can have provide a link to the individual answer here where they are getting this particular reference. You can save this, or you can ask a follow-up question, whatever you would like to ask. So I hope that makes it very clear for you to do the industry trends, macro market analysis. Now we have not done any macro market analysis. We can do a we can do a follow-up question. Um, Help me to do a industry analysis for this business and highlight growth in last 3 years, any projections for next 5 years, risks to the business due to new developments, and potential, what we need to be successful. So if that particular kind of information is available online, you in terms of any articles or in terms of any reports, industry white paper, it will search anything and then it will be able to give you that information. Uh, Sometimes I'm making a mistake of asking it too many things, but you can ask it individually as well. But when you are using the Bing, you have to remember that you will not be able to keep this chat forever. Once you close the browser, it will be finished. So you have to copy, if you are looking at, then you have to copy it and keep it in your save, or you can download the information so that you can refer it back. For the other tools like Perplexity, you can keep that, because it will be able to save that information. It will be able to, in the My Threads, you will be able to find and refer it in the future. But I would always suggest to copy the information and keep it somewhere else, so that you don't have a risk of losing it again, especially when you want to reuse it. Okay, so that's the first part of the industry report. So you may be able need to do the strength, opportunity, weakness, and threats by yourself. AI tool will not be able to help you, because it's all internal SWOT. There is no public information available, so AI will not be able to do that. However, if you have done a SWOT analysis, let's say you know that okay, these are my SWOT analysis, and then you want AI to help generating some strategies, it can do that. But you have to give the proper clear business model, clear SWOT analysis, and then you can say, okay, how do I work around my weaknesses? How do I work on avoiding my threats? GPT AI can help you with some of the strategies. So you get to get some brainstorming ideas, which works as a starting point. It does not really help much. I have done a lot of research on this. I use it almost every day for my business where I'm working now for hotels, for doing the marketing strategies, for doing the business strategies. But they provide a initial groundwork. But the real actual strategies we have to do by ourselves. Okay. Then the next part, as we have seen already, is the industry trend and macro market analysis. You have to get the macro market analysis to understand what will be the demand for SaaS. Is there any growing? What are the economic indicators for in the demand? Is there any regulation going on? Is there any recession coming up? Because the first thing that if there is a recession, the first thing that will happen is cut down on the tools expenses to do budgeting and forecasting, because they are not required. Or is there any regulatory change? So those things we have to keep in mind. At this particular stage, also have to do a competitor benchmarking and KPI. We need to understand the market share, the revenue growth, customer satisfaction metrics. As I have asked in the to the Chat GPT itself, to see okay what are the industry feedback. So here you can see there are positive reviews, but we can specifically ask what is the review itself. uh, in terms of response, I think the Bing is providing much more detailed response compared to Perplexity. So you can always look at different models. They are providing different information. If you don't want to use Bing or ChatGPT, you can use ChatGPT Plus version. There is a plugin called keymate.ai search. You can use that and plug in, and that you can copy paste the same particular information, and you can still ask the same thing, right? uh, the purpose of this is just to show you difference between the different tools, how they work differently. So you have to enable the plugin. You have to download that. It's not a desktop download or anything. It's just download in the chat GPT itself. But this is a free version, keymate.ai search. You have to open an account with keymate.ai search. You can log in with your Gmail, and then you can use it here. They have some limitations on how many searches you can do in one day, so you have to keep in mind of that. But ChatGPT can use it seamlessly, and it will be able to do that search for you, and create an answer. So while it's running, we can continue our class. So you have to look at the customer satisfaction. So you can use AI tools, as I have explained now already, to to carry out the market research, to carry out the industry benchmarks, to carry out the strategies and everything else. ChatGPT is getting slower, and it always give all these unnecessary nowadays sponsored messages for using the plugins, because the plugins are free to use, but they do the ads nowadays. It's changing. You didn't used to do it, but now it's doing it for last few weeks. But you can see the ChatGPT has a different answer. There is a workday, adaptive planning, pigment, and then they are different customer satisfaction, and it tells us what are the key features that we can use. So you can use that. I'm not selling anything of this here. I'm just giving you a answer or a different way. The next part of the step two, before we do that, if you would like to take a 5 minute break, you can take that while I read the comments and the chat or any questions. Let's take a 5 minute break so that you guys can refresh up, and then we will continue. The heavy lifting part is should be done very soon. हम्म, मत करो बेटा, मेरे को काम करना है प्लीज। तो मेरी क्लास चल रही ना। हाँ, नहीं चल रही बेटा, चल तो रही है। हाँ जाओ, जाओ 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 जाओ। ठीक है, पता है मुझे भी। हेलो एवरीवन, आर यू गाइस बैक? Can I get a yes in the chat panel so that I know all of you are back here and I can restart the class? Okay, thank you, Rebecca. I hope other participants are here as well. Okay, thank you. Excited. Now, uh, oh, sorry, we are not in the step three yet. So the step two is pretty much simple step, and in this step we just have to identify the assumptions, what we are going to use in our budget, and normally it involves macroeconomic assumptions and demographic data. Some industry specific assumptions are also there, and most of the time we in my actual use cases I analyzed inflation rates, industries, the macroeconomic, to see where the inflation rates are going, how is it has been doing, and where it's going to be. Before AI, we have to read a lot of data. We have to read a lot of reports from IMF, from World Bank, from different issuing authorities, where we wanted to get the data, but we were not able to get a reliable data. So now with the inflation, with the AI, it's just free, it's pretty easy. So you can just ask. I would refresh the previous context so that we are not really stuck on the old data. As a financial analyst, help me to research the and file the inflation rates for, let's say we are working in US, and our markets that we use is India, China, and maybe Philippines. Now, why Philippines? Uh, you may do some other things, but normally we do where we are based, where we are working, where our supply chain come from, where our most of the customers come from. So if let's say we are selling in US but making in India, some parts making in China, customer support in Philippines, and we want to understand how the AI is going to be working, how the inflation is going to affect for next 3 years in these countries, because when the inflation happens, all the expenses happen increase, right? The labor costs go higher, the general cost of living go higher, rentals go higher, taxes go higher, interest rates get affected. So we have to understand about the inflation. So you can take a look at it. Now we can say that, oh, apart from the IMF, it's not able to look at. So we can specifically ask it. Take a look at World Bank estimates, IMF estimates, S&P or other research company. You can look at it. You can ask it specific organization information. I mean, it looks like it already has looked at World Bank, IMF, and get images. so it could not found that data. But if the data is available, it will be able to do that. Now not everything is available in the AI's stack as well. Okay, so one is the inflation rate. Then the another version is the population demographics. Now, population demographics help in the consumer business, not necessarily in our SaaS business, because we probably are targeting B2B, because we are selling the business tools, but it helps to understand the demographics change in the country, because it ultimately affects the business. It ultimately affects what kind of employment we will be getting, how many people are getting educated, how many people are getting out of uh, um, the workforce, how many people are entering workforce. That helps to understand the businesses, how just generally it will make an impact on the global business. See, these are global matrices, and it affects the entire economies, which ultimately affects the every kind of business. That's why we normally should look at the overall information. Then you can look at the GDP growth rates in the macroeconomics. Normally, I look at host country where we are selling most of the things, major customer companies, if we have global business, and we want to look at and the other countries are forming part of a major part of our revenue, we look at them. Supply economies, if you're getting outsourced to China, to India, to Philippines, to Vietnam, to other countries, Europe, Africa, you should be looking at these countries as well, because they may or some other economies where you may have an expansion plan. So let's say you want to go into Dubai, so you should be looking at Saudi Arabia uh, as a country that you would like to understand their GDP, their growth rate, the macroeconomics. You can use the simple commands from AI to generate the report for you. Some of them are able to generate quickly, while many of the information may not be available with a simple search, because they are not public documents. Now, the another thing which you can use, let's say you found a document, right? You found a World Bank report or an MIF report, which is 100 pages. Now, how you are going to find the relevant information that you want to use, right? uh, or you get an industry paper which is like 15 pages or 20 pages or 30 pages or 100 pages, and you would like to generate synthesize that information to you, right? How you're going to do that? Now there are two methods to use that to do that part, right? One is you will copy the information in the text format and give it to the chat GPT and ask it to summarize it or get the relevant data. You can ask it question. There is a tool called chatpdf.com. So the tool name is chatpdf.com. Are you able to see this on the screen? Chatpdf.com. I can put it on the chat panel for everybody to use. Um, Now, this tool is very simple. You just have to upload the document, right? Upload a PDF document. Let's say I used to download a document, work smarter, not harder, maybe yes. Or yeah, this is a book of 50 pages, right? You can download this book, upload this book, sorry. And then now you will be able to chat with this particular PDF. You will be asked what are the things that you can ask. So here's are sample questions. Some of the basic blocks for productivity, drinking water helps, any specific tools or apps mentioned to help with the productivity. So you can ask the questions. In the past, I have downloaded Samsung report. I uploaded Samsung report and I have chat with it. I have uploaded the another book called 100 Million Offers, and I chat with it and create a plan with for me. So let's say if you are a startup and you want to create a offer for your business based on this particular book without reading it, You can actually do that now. You can say that, okay, please, here are the learnings, and you can give it a command of what you exactly want to do, and you can give you a step by step approach to create an offer for you based on the learnings from the particular book. So similar way, you can actually also upload a 100-page research report to this particular tool, and ask it to summarize it, or ask any questions on the inflation or anything else. What it will do is it will search document, and it will provide you the relevant information with a page reference where it found that particular information, so that you can actually go back and read that page by yourself. So this tool helps us to really synthesize the information in a very quick way. You cannot actually use ChatGPT or another text-based AI tools for doing it, because they don't take PDF as a file, especially the free versions. They are not able to do that. Okay, so that's the important thing. And then you can do the industry and company specific assumptions. So you can actually, if there are industry reports, if there are white papers, if there are journals, you can actually give the all the journals to this. Now chat PDF is in the free version. You can probably upload some of the files and can ask some certain questions, but not it's not unlimitedly free. Plus, it's document by document. So it may not be able to give, if let's say you would download five different PDF files. So you have to combine those files first. If you want all the files to be read at single point of time, then you have to download everything into one first, and then give it to chat PDF. So you should do industry growth rates, competition change, make certain assumptions of how the industry will grow, how the competitions will change, whether there is a new competition coming in, whether there is any competition which will be going out, or internal assumptions for that matter. How much will be the turnover rate in your company? How much will be the growth rate in your company? What will be the price increase that you are looking at, particular to your company? Now, it does not have to do anything with the inflation. Even if, let's say, if you're buying certain things, and inflation may not directly affect that cost of service, so you should be doing your own internal assumptions to say, okay, my labor cost, I'm going to increase by 5% because I will give a salary increment to every single person. Nothing to do with the inflation. If you may say that, oh, my contract is going to expire next year, and I think that I will be able to negotiate a 10% increase, in only a 10% increase in the cost, or I assume that there will be a 10% increase in the cost next year for my rental apart or rental office. So you can make your internal assumptions for creating the budget and forecast for the future. Okay, so here AI can help you in certain things like market research or reading the PDF files, long PDF files, and synthesizing the information to be able to generate the assumptions for you. But assumptions you have to create by yourself. And the third step, which is a very interesting part of doing the budget and forecast, is establishing the trends. Now, how do we establish the trends? So you have to look at the model. You have to create a financial model to look at certain trends. Now, for most important trends are revenue growth rates. How have your revenue been growing in the past? Let's say 1 year, 2 years, 12 months, 13 months. Is there any pattern to see the rate the that the revenue has been growing? You can do the seasonal, you can understand the seasonality in the revenue or in the performance of the company. Is there any seasonal? For example, like hotels, now we know our hotels have a season, starting from October. The season will start the until the end of May, where the rains start. Until that time, we call it a high season. Why? Because we get a lot of customers. After rain stops, April, May, June, July, August, we don't really get a lot of customers. So we call it a low season, rainy season. But how do we know that? Based on my experience, based on we have been seeing the 3 seasons, I know that is my low season, right? But out of the high season, let's say October to March, which months are the greatest month for us? It depends, right? For that, you cannot just assume based on your general reference. You may have to go to the data and see which months is consistently higher. So you may have to give it a maybe a 12 month, 24 months data, a 36 months data, or 48 months data to really understand is there any seasonality. You will not be able to identify seasonality with 12 months data, right? Because there is no reference for the AI to do a comparison of last season and versus this season. Is there any seasonality or not? So you can do that. Now how do we do that? And then also the another part of the step 3 in establishing the trends is understanding the relationship between the expenses and revenue. So there are many expenses which are variable, which are related to revenue. For example, like your direct cost of sales, your product cost of sales, your research and development, your marketing expenses, and there are many expenses which are not related to the revenue or which are not related with the customers that you are serving, right? So they are called fixed expenses or they are called variable expenses. So how will you know based on the data? Your data may be very big, right? You may have a lot of P&L, you may have a lot of information. So how you are going to analyze that? How you are going to understand that? Let me give you some examples for this. Just give me a second. So I have prepared a simple file. It's just a profit and loss statement for let's say this a company which I have for 2 years of data. It's just a sample data from the company. Now there are two methods of doing this. One is you can copy paste this data and then say 24 months of data here. Copy the whole thing, right? And you can paste it. Now it's a very big data, right? And you will not be able to post this into the chat gpt model because chat gpt will not be able to process this information because it's too big for this. So let's say you can still try analyze this information and assist me in establishing the trends. ChatGPT has a limitation of tokens. Now, tokens means how much information we can give it as an input. ChatGPT is limited to 4,000 tokens at one point of time, and this data is way bigger than that. So, what do we do? There are other tools here. The tools help us with more information. So you can use Llama. Llama has a much more larger context window. So here you can use Llama or you can use Cloud Assistant 100K. This tool has a much more wider limit, but I only have two commands left. So I will show this one first. Analyze below information and help to establish relationship between revenue of establish trends in revenue and expenses with seasonality. So you just copy paste and then see what happens. Is it able to give or not? Right. So Llama we have given it. Oh, in Cloud Instant has a token limit of 100,000. So it's way bigger. It can take a lot of data, right? So you can see is generally highest in summer months. Sales from driver is follow a similar pattern in summer and winter. So you can see that okay, there is some seasonality because there is a summer, there is a winter. Then the because it's just working on the seasonality, we have not asked it to establish the trends. How much is the percentage of the contract labor or other things? We have not done that. I have done that in the previous command, but that's gone already. So it's about 100,000 tokens, somewhere about 75,000 words. It can take that information. So it's a paid version. Now my only one command is left. Or alternatively, you can use Llama for this. Llama as well have a higher token limit. Oops, no, Llama will also not be able to take this message because they have a token limit as well, not that big. So you can take it. Now this is the free version. So we have not used any paid version yet. There is another method to do it. The another method is GPT-4 premium version. So what we will do is we can actually use and enable the plugin. You hover over GPT-4 and click on advanced data analysis. It's in beta version. You can click it. What it will do is it will enable a file upload option. You can upload one file or you can upload a zip file containing a lot of files, right? So you can do that as well. So let's say we upload this particular file. Now, oops, oh, it's open. Okay, sorry, the file is open. That's why it's not able to do that. I will close the file and then we'll re-upload. Okay, but here to help GPT-4 make less mistakes, we have to provide a very clear information because you cannot expect GPT to open the file and understand what it is. No, it will not do that. So we have to provide a complete information of from what it is, right? So let's say we open the file and we understand by ourselves first what it is and what we exactly want it to do. So we want it to look at this particular sheet, monthly sheet. So we will need to say, okay, go to monthly sheet, even though it has other sheets. Otherwise, it will go and analyze every single thing, and it will be a waste of time for ChatGPT. It will take a long time to answer. So we will say, okay, again, we follow the structure. You are financial analysis expert. Here is an Excel file containing profit and loss of sample company. Sample company. I just downloaded this data randomly from a sample company. That's why it shows me this sample company. It has many sheets, but we will focus on sheet called monthly. Now, what is our intention? Right? Oh, sorry. We have to give a bit more information here. Revenue in our file, revenue starts from row number 4 until row number 15. Revenue is in row 4 to 15, and after that it's expenses. It has 24 months data to analyze. Now, what do we want? Intention. What is our intention? I would like to explore seasonality. We can do more, but let's stick to seasonality for now. Now, what do we want it to do? Generate a table to tell us which account codes are seasonal and which are not affected by seasons. Okay. And what how format. Now E is just an optional. If you have already prescribed everything and you don't have any other specific thing, you can do that. Otherwise, you can provide column names, column details, or everything. So you can do that. Otherwise, we can ignore it. So let's ignore it for now. We can give it a command. We already have uploaded the file. We can hit OK, and it will do the thing. Now, sometimes if the you have what you have to remember is you have to provide the file with the proper formatting. We have not done that, so GVD will have to go on and clean the data by itself. What is the meaning of cleaning? The cleaning the data means we have blank rows, we have the column names, we have all the information which is not really very relevant for ChatGPT. So it will erase that particular information, and in that process it can sometimes damage the data. I mean, not damage the original data, but damage the data in itself, in its own processing imagination. Let's say it contains various accounts to identify seasonality. It will use statistical method. Yes. Right. Nowadays, I don't know why it has just started to ask questions, a lot of questions. In the previous time, it did not ask question; it just do the analysis. But now it asks to confirm every single time. Even the small things, they can start to confirm. Okay, so there is a question. Let's take that question as well. How secure are these websites? Security wise, I was told not to upload that. Why? You can upload the data. The only thing is you have to anonymize the data, Rebecca, right? Yes, Rebecca. So what I have done is this is not a real data, and I have hide all the company name and everything. I have adjusted the data to make it fake. So there is no there is no clear information on what the data is, right? So that's why it's not a very sensitive information. It's public information. So that's why we can use it. The only thing I would advise is don't put your sensitive information on this, and your private information, which you do not want anybody to know. Yes, that information you should not share on any of the websites. Now, ChatGPT is also creating a enterprise version, or there are many there are many chatbots which claims to be business and your own data, house your own data, train your own data, but it's not really very safe to upload the information on the platform. So uh, you when you want to do it, you just have to anonymize the data, so remove the sensitivity out of this. There are free tools which can anonymize the data, and can you can then upload this, or I would suggest, if you don't want to use the exact data, you create a dummy data using the same column, same rows, same information. Maybe you can multiply this half of it by 5, divide half of it by 10. What you exactly want is to get some ideas, right? So you don't want to upload your real data on it, but you can provide a dummy data to see how the things work. So it has done the analysis, and it has down. We can download the seasonality returns. Let's see what it is, and then we can check it out. Okay, it has done this analysis. So account name and seasonality. So it has done the analysis, and it can create, okay, what is seasonal, what is not seasonal. Now, as I was saying, ChatGPT just generate the answer. It does not give you why it's not a seasonal, and what is the reason why. Plus, the information that we have also provided is only 2 years, so it may not be able to generate a real information on how it has done it. Can you elaborate the rationale of selection? Let's see. You can ask it. So you can do that, read it, but still you will not be able to get the computations. I mean, you can ask it to clarify the computations, and then we can get it done. Okay, so that's how you can analyze the data. This process will remain same if you want to calculate the ratio, you want to calculate the trends, you want to understand how certain expenses are related to revenues, but you have to provide a bit more detail. So for example, if you want to understand, hey, which of these expenses are related to my revenue and how much is the percentage, so you may have to define, okay, the interest is maybe not right, insurance or consulting or any other thing relate to what kind of information, what kind of revenue it is. So you may have to provide that information to the ChatGPT. Normally, if I upload anything after the processing is done, I usually delete the information so that even if there is any little bit of sensitivity, I can actually erase that part, that risk completely. Okay, so you can use the AI tools like this analysis tools to create your own ratio analysis, or to calculate the how much is the current ratio to trend, whether it's increasing or decreasing. You can do all these analysis using these tools. But I would just suggest, if you are using it, you can upload. You should not upload your personal data to it. Can copy paste into text format and just after that delete it, so that you don't have to keep the archive in the process. Don't provide passwords and bank account information as well. Okay, once you have done that part, once you have created the assumptions, now is another fun part starts, is that we now have to create a researched action plan. Okay, you have got the step one was understand the strategic aspects, set up the goals. Second step was to really understand the inflation. The third step was to understand what has been our trends. Now you got all the information available for you, right? To be able to make a right decision of what should be our action plan to achieve the strategic goals, or to beat the or to utilize our strength and weaknesses to our maximum, right? So now we have to create a research action plan. You can use the industry benchmarks, you can take out the efficiency. You need to create based on certain strategic goals. You can create the action plans. Now you can use AI for this as well. We can create the, but again, you may be able to get started with your brainstorming. You may be able to get started with your ideation process. You may be able to get started with best practices around the world. So I have been using the AI. Let's say, for example, I don't remember um, the strategy here, because that that point might have gone, but I can show you. So let's say I have a new. We can ask the AI to help us. If you want to use the internet search, you can use the ChatGPT's Keymate internet search. Now we can say, okay, um, I have a new competitor, Eat Eater Hotel, coming next to us in another 2 months. Their rooms are newer, prices are similar to us. Our strengths lies in our brand standing and service culture. along with loyal customer base. However, new hotel is also international chain. We estimate to lose some business. Check best practices or advice available on net from leading hospitality experts and create a prelim action plan to tackle this situation. So now I have actually, I even though I didn't give it a profile that you are an hospitality expert or whatever, we don't have to do that all the time because normally it's given, but it's a best practice to give, right? We have given it a context information, we have given our intention, we have given it a complete task, and now we are asking him to look at the internet, right? So you can do that, and it will give you a general idea. Uh, Even though sometimes I get a new perspective, sometimes even though we may have done our brainstorming ourselves, using this kind of tools help us to develop a new perspective to the problem, help us to understand a new solution to our issues. Usually what it will say, you need to emphasize on your customer, you need to do a bit of more marketing, you need to emphasize on your service culture, lower the rates. So these are general things, right? So but let's see what it says. So the situation analysis there, because we have done the strength and SWOT analysis, we have given it already. New competitor, customer challenges, and these are our objective: retain customer base, attract new, enhance service offerings, and strengthen the brand loyalty. Now you can see digital engagement, loyalty program, local partnerships. How do we enhance the service more? How do we innovate the service? And where it's getting the information from? So that you can check, okay, these are the action plans. Now for these you can also do that part for your own business, right? And it will help you to create a prelim action plan. Once you have this, you can go back to your team and do a more detailed analysis, right? You can look at industry benchmarks to see, hey, what are the benchmarks that industry is been chasing after, whether they are looking at the customer acquisition, whether they are looking at net promoter score, whether they are looking at monthly recurring revenue, they are looking at average revenue, they are looking at churn, they are looking at anything specific to your particular industry. For example, hospitality, we look at average daily rate, we look at occupancy, we look at RevPAR, we look at average check, we look at the customer loyalty, net promoter score, all those kind of things. Our strength on the booking.com or social media rankings. So we look at all that information, and we provide benchmarks to see, okay, this is our focus going to be. In this particular example, when I gave, I didn't tell it, okay, what is my focus should be. So if I get a focus, let's say, I can go and change the plan and say, okay, we estimate to lose, check the best practices available net from hospitality, create claim action to tackle the situation. Um, our focus is on retaining our customers and improve efficiencies and maintain market share in terms of revenue. So this is our primary focus, right? So it we can do it, and it can regenerate it. If you are not happy, you can regenerate the search again. The beauty of this is it will regenerate, and you can go back to the original answer as well. If you, let's say, you don't like the second version, you can go back to the first version by just clicking it back. By There's an arrow button here, and you can get it back. But let's not disturb it while it's running. and you can keep on regenerating the answers until you are satisfied. So as long as we want to do it, we can continue to do it. So this is information that we want. I also wanted to share with you. uh, if you want to just only check, if you ask a follow-up question, you can ask in the next command. If you want to change the prompt, you can change it, but you have to remember that all the future things will get changed automatically. But you can retrieve it by going back to the original version of the prompt, and you will get back everything. So here we know our strategic recommendation on revenue management, customer satisfaction, and some other operational part. It's still giving us all the quality assurance and technology, but anyway, that is something we have to deal with it, because it's just hallucinate and cannot stick to the one platform, but it's giving a decent answer, I can see that. Okay, so once you have these action plans based on your industry benchmarks, based on your operational efficiencies, you can now create scenarios. Okay, what if I take this? What is going to be my cost? What is going to be the risk on this? Even ask the chat GPT itself. So let's say we can ask a follow-up question and say, fine, we are going to look at, we choose, let's say the what do we choose, loyalty program, and we want to do the revenue management by dynamic process. Okay, we would like to implement loyalty program. What are different choices do I do we have to implement, and what are their estimate costs? Is also list risks involved in the project. So let's say we say, okay, next year we are just going to focus on our loyalty program, nothing else. What are the different choices I have for loyalty program? What can be the choices? You can have your own program. You can join somebody else's program. You may want to launch a loyalty app, or you can do a point-based system, or whatever you want to do. You can have multiple, or you can have a Starbucks kind of a stamping system. So you can have multiple options. There are risks, there are costs, different costs, right? So you can actually take that. Why it's again, it's going again into the same thing. Fine, it's, I think it's forgot about the, because we are providing these different tech context, I think it lose the original context. Okay, it's giving us the data, but wow, points, tiered, paid, cashback, coalition loyalty program, estimate cost, initial cost, maintenance, marketing cost, you know. So these kind of information is available now for us to do a scenario analysis and say, okay, how do we and risk, what are the customer overload, what can be the operating cost, data security, ROI concerns. So these are the things that can help us get started. Before this, before AI, we used to do it only by our experience. Our When we prepare the program, our GM used to review and say, "Hey, Manish, you forgot about this particular aspect, or the cost does not seems to be correct." Or when we put the project and then we actually are implementing next year, the costs are completely different, right? So now we don't have that. We have that risk still, but it's lesser compared to our original scenarios. So now you can create scenarios, you can understand their risk, you can carry out the project cost estimations based on the AI, based on the research, based on the based on different platforms, based on different industry reports. All of this can be done through the AI. Once you have done this, you have to select a course of action, right? You have to finalize everything, create different scenarios. If you do not want to select anything and want to create multiple options for you, that is, then you have to select two or three options for you, and then we go to the next step of step 5, where we are going to create forecast. So Then we have to create the financial models. Here again, AI will not be able to help you in creating the financial forecast, but it will help you to create the outlines of financial forecast. So how it will done? You can say, okay, now we want to create a forecast. For example, if you want to continue with our financial, with our loyalty program, so it can create a financial model input. You may want to do a revenue projection. You, by looking at the history, you can provide it a revenue growth. You can provide it a anything else, how you want to create the revenue growth. We use templates, so I can share with you some of the templates that we use usually. For example, revenue budgeting. For hotels, we make templates for revenue generating, for revenue, for example, in our segment. This is something I was saying to you. We normally want to do the templates in a very clean and nice format, colored, where it needs to be have a bold, where whatever it needs to be. It's not the best format, but it's very clean and understandable that okay, this is the budget, previous information, how much is the variance, how much was the previous to previous version, and how much is the variance from this. So we use this information and we normally can provide the budgeting template for this. Now, if you don't have anything in the hands at the moment, you can probably create your own. AI will not be able to generate these templates for you because they are not really that smart yet at this point of time. But you can create something out of this. So, for example, now continuing with this, I would like you to help me and create a outline for financial model to select a good loyalty program based on total cost of implementation. Create the outline in table format. I will copy to for further process. You may not get 100% exact answer what you want to do, but you may get certain answers. With the AI, it's a little bit easier to do, so it can create a initial thing. Sometimes you may not be able to think all the relevant cost, right? So sometimes it's easier to use that based on the various financial model the AI has done. It can create a certain outline for you to fill out the data, so that it's like you can think it like a checklist for you to create financial models for your budgeting exercise, so that you don't forget anything in that particular. So you can just need to fill up the data, and if something is not relevant, you can say, okay, no, it's not relevant to us anymore. But if you expect it to fill the data, that will not happen. So you can do revenue projections. You can give it a revenue projection and create a new, tools for that. Or you may not be able to uh, do the financial projections using AI, but you can create models. So if you don't have it already, you can do that. So let's say, for example, for our AI for our tech savvy company, we can create. We can create a for a financial forecasting tool. So let's say we are SaaS company helping businesses do financial forecasting and budgeting using AI tools. We are in the process of budgeting, creating budgets for next 1 year. I need you in the financial in the prompt. If you use the square packets like this, you are providing an additional context to the AI. So this is how why these how we can provide more context. You who means you who budgeting expert with a revenue forecasting model based on best practices, provide in table format for me to copy in Excel. Now, why I'm not creating Excel? Because you cannot you can we can use multiple plugins, but we cannot create an Excel formula, Excel table right from the GPT. It can only be done via interpreter. For others plugins, we can create a macro code which you have to copy and paste into the Excel so that we can create, but that's not really an ideal situation. So it is creating, but it's not in an ideal format. Why? Because we would want it months in as columns and the information as a row, right? But since we did not prescribe any information to it, it's giving us what it thinks is better. And we did not start provided a starting month. We did not provided the year it is, and we did not provided any because we didn't want it to provide any data to it, but it just use the data itself automatically, which is fine. But we can actually go in and say, hey, um, months will be on column and KPIs and matrices will be on row. Sorry, here you can do the save and submit. It will create another version for you, which you can just copy and paste into Excel. You can ask GPT to generate the formulas as well for you. Just give us the table first. Okay, here is the table. So it can create a table as well. So we can copy this and it can continue to do that. But let's move on to the next thing. Similarly, you can do expense forecast. You can ask it to generate an expense model to create a variable expense or fixed expense, or related with the revenue, related with the customers, related with the projects that you are doing. However, it's related with the business. This information you will get from your original information when you are doing these in the step three. We were doing the trend analysis, we were doing the seasonality, we were looking at the ratios. Information there will help here, right? Because we are now creating the models, we understand our existing trends and how the expenses relate with the data. We can now create our models based on that knowledge already, so we can build upon that particular knowledge which we gained on step 3. So that's step 5. And then we can use AI in forecasting using the predictive analytics. So in AI in Excel itself, there is a tool which we can use for predictive analytics, but it use the statistical information like regression analysis or other predictive analytical tools to create a forecast based on the future. But if we are doing a custom based revenue growth, a target based revenue growth, predictive analytics may not help in forecasting that much. But what we need is in AI is to do a sensitivity analysis and to understand how realistic is that particular thing. So we can give it a we can once we do a forecast, we can give it to AI, upload the file, and then ask it to verify the formulas, verify the sensitivity and how sensitive it is, how much revenue or customer business increase it will create the different result for us already, right? So that we can do. Okay. So that is the step 5. We will take some break here. I need to take a 5-minute loo break. You can also go and take a loo break, and then we will reconvene in 5 minutes, sharp 5 minutes. Some more exciting steps are coming in on the way, so just stay tuned with me. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please put into Q&A or chat panel. I will have a look at them and will be able to answer. I hope you are enjoying the class. Hello, everyone. Are we back now? Again? Okay, thank you. So, we were discussing the steps and we have discussed until step 1 to 5. So, I would just like to have a quick recap to refresh up the memory for everybody. So, what we were discussing, oops, I think we have gone too much. So, we were looking at the five frameworks. So, we have covered five steps out of our eight steps now, and we are in the last leg of our class. So, we looked at how we create the strategic plans in our review, the SWOT analysis, the competitors benchmarking, KPIs, and we see how some of the AI tools can help us. So it could be Perplexity.ai, it could be Llama, it could be ChatGPT, it could be Keymate.ai search, or it could be a Chat PDF as well. The second step was to do the assumptions, to create assumptions for our budget and forecast. And most important assumptions that we normally do are macroeconomic and demographic data, which includes inflation, population demographics, GDP, and certain industry and specific company specific assumptions, which means industry growth, competition growth, internal assumptions related with the internal decisions of the company. For example, any contract rate increase, salary increase, or whatever, which may not be directly related with the inflation or with the macroeconomic data. These are also called assumptions. Why? Because these are not facts yet. Uh, then the step three was to establish the trends on our existing data. If the company has been in existence for a year or 2 years or 5 years or 10 years, we should establish seasonality and revenue and growth rates. So we could be identifying revenue growth rate, how the revenue has been coming to the company. We I forgot to add that we normally should do it by segment. So not just only the total revenue, by segment, by market, by geography, so that we really know where the company has been generating the profit from, what markets has been profitable and what has not been profitable. We want to understand the seasonal fluctuations as well, so that we can see whether the business is seasonal or non-seasonal. As a part of the trends, we also want to understand ratio and relationship analysis. Ratio and relationship analysis means how our cost are related to the revenue, how our volume affects the price, and how our prices affects the volume of the business. Which costs relate directly to the revenue. Some of them may be fixed, some of them maybe depend on the customers, some of them maybe depend on the revenue, some of them may depend on the activity or the number of staff, or however they are related. There are always cost drivers. So you have to understand that cost driver, because that cost driver is going to be helpful in our future steps. Step 5, which we have just discussed. You can use AI tools to establish the trends. You can understand them, to create the ratios, to understand and analyze the data. But again, when we are doing this, we have to remember that we don't want to give any sensitive information to the chat GPT or any platform while we are doing this, because it's our internal data. You may not want to give your price list. You may not want, especially the internal price list or cost breakdowns, because that can be risky. Even though the information may not directly be available to everybody, but your data may be used for training the ChatGPT. And in the future, anybody is using ChatGPT to understand about the business models, they will get that particular answer. So that is why it's risky. Step 4 is to create a researched action plan. Now, when I say researched action plan, it means we have to take care of three steps that we have taken earlier: the strategic aspects, the assumptions, macroeconomic things, and our internal data. And then we create our action plan based on the industry benchmarks, based on operational efficiencies, based on our internal growth rates or matrices that we really want to establish. And you can use AI to help generate some initial action plans and cost scenarios. So you can create scenario planning through AI and carry out the risk assessment. I show you one example how AI can give you an initial list of action plan, identify the risk, identify the project cost estimations, different variables of what a particular action plan can entail in terms of cost. So that can help you to set up a initial groundwork for you to work on. So you don't have to really break your head and make mistakes or be at a risk of ignoring any specific task in the process. So that's a very very important step we have to do. Once we have finished it, then now we need to go to the step 5 of creating the forecast, actual forecast, right? When we are creating the actual forecast, we have to use the individual financial models. And as I explained in the beginning of the class, The guiding principle is to create a modular approach. So we have to create modular models, financial models of revenue projections. I show you one example of revenue projections by segment, by month, by year, by market, by anything else. So here your industry trends, which you have already understood in step 3, is going to help. We have to create the expense forecast. We have to create the we can use predictive analysis in the AI, but if we are having a bespoke growth rates or strategy, then the predictive analytics may not be able to help us with the forecast. But if the ratios or the activity are pretty much standard and it has been continuously doing it, there's no creativity required, then you can use predictive analytics to carry out the forecasting. AI can help us, once we have done the forecast, AI can help us create sensitivity analysis in on our forecast to really make sure that we are not making big mistakes or we are not forgetting anything. Then the next step is fairly simple. We just have to compile all the information in available. Before that, let's look at some pro tips for forecasting, effective forecasting, which is I have been using in the past 5-10 years now. So one pro tip for forecasting is use multiple data sources. So I use multiple data sources like competition, our own internal phones, industry reports. There are in the hospitality industry there is a report called there is a company called STR. They do the research. Sometimes it's free, sometimes it's paid, but we use those data sources as well. And there are a lot of times ministry is generating the information. The hotel ministries around the world, the tourism marketing agencies are also generating the research data. So what we do is we take all the data and see whether if there is any inconsistency in the data. And usually we rely on where we feel it's gut feeling. So the government data is more reliable compared to the competitor information, but market research companies data is more reliable compared to government data, especially when the market research is not done for any specific purposes but just to highlight the trends only. You have to understand the bias is there when we are doing the research, because there may be certain agendas lying behind publishing certain data. So you have to be careful in that. But otherwise, use multiple data. I use multiple data many of times. We can use automated softwares to save our time and reduce the error chances, which means Excel, which mean IBM Cognos, which mean Hyperion, which means many other tools we can use, but they may not always be correct. You always have to redo or override the forecast done by them. We should create scenarios based on different assumptions to see what is the difference, what is the variability, what if we choose this particular action plan, what if we choose in a very simple example is worst case, best case, and worst case, realistic case, and best case scenarios. Uh, I hope everybody of you have understood, heard of these terms. So we normally create three scenarios. What will happen if everything is go as per our plan? What can happen if nothing goes as per plan? Or what is realistic data based on the based on the trends, based on our previous achievement in the budgets, uh, what can happen to us. One thing I forgot to mention in the step 3 is when we are looking at trends, we also look at budget achievement ratios in the past. If you have been doing the budgets and forecasts for many years, you can actually look at the ratios to see which how much has been a historical achievement in the budget and forecast. You may need to include the non-financial data as well to help you make sense of financial forecast for like social media trends, employee engagement, customer satisfaction, Google trends, and the demand patterns. These are non-financial, but it helps to make sense of the financial forecast. Then you can look at the assumptions, whether they are reasonable, and then review them every 3 months, 6 months, to make sure that the forecasts that you do are realistic. Step six is in compilation and creating the group summaries. We create, because as I said earlier, we do a modular approach. So once we do a modular approach, we finish every single module, we review those modules individually, and then we create a group summary for this. So you cannot use AI for this. You have to do it manually. But there are certain tools which can help. Then you have to do visualizations. Visualizations can be done through AI. You can use ChatGPT to generate a graph chart, bar chart, or anything else. But Excel also have that capability. So I would not really waste the time of anybody to teach that here, because I personally feel that it does not save time, because the design and the pattern that ChatGPT generate are really unusable. So we don't really, waste our time on that. So visualization and KPIs trackings, by far Excel is the best. Don't go with don't go to ChatGPT for creating any kind of simple visualizations. If you have like very large data and you want to create visualizations from this, that's fine. But otherwise, just use Excel. We will be having another class on data visualization and data analytics using AI tools, where we deep dive into if some of the tools which can be used for visualizations and dashboard tracking. But that's a different project, because it's another 3 hour class. Okay, then we comes to the non-sexy part of the budget and forecast. Uh, the elephant has gone, just only the tail is remaining here, and is most neglected part, but is the most important part also. Errors and sanity checks. We have to carry out the errors. We use visualizations to do the error checks, setting up the bar chart, graph charts, compare with the budget, compare with the last year, carry out a variation analysis to see is there any logical mistake left in the budget. Formula auditing can be done through the AI. So we normally use integrity checks via using AI tools, and also we give it to the we can upload the file to the ChatGPT code interpreter, and it can help us to really understand if there's any formula error. Now I have been using, until now I've been using traditional error checks like balance sheet checks or a percentage check, whether it's really any percentage is significantly higher compared to the last year, compared to previous year budgets, compared to month on month growth rates. So we have certain visualizations. For example, like month on month growth rates. And if any month is showing like 1,000%, maybe something wrong. If we compare with the previous year, if again another is showing a error or a value, or is missing information, you can pretty much spot it, right? So that's why we normally have to do this. Then we also do scenario checks, or we can say goal seek checks. In Excel, we can do that easily. AI is a bit different to do, because it has to understand the financial model, and if especially financial model is the budget model is spread in multiple sheets, AI will get confused, and it will not be able to process that information, because remember, AI has token limits. If the file is too big, it will not be able to process it as well. Then there are apart from the integrity checks, you can carry out manual checks as well. Okay, then we go to the step 8, management review and adjustment. So once you have done the compilation, you have done the error checks, that now is the time for do management review. For management review, we normally generate summaries, we normally generate matrices, we normally generate dashboards, we generally generate summaries. Here, AI can help to do that again, but since the majority of work has been done, I prefer using Excel and create our own charts using Excel, customized charts, because we normally don't rely on the standard charts like bar chart or graph charts. We generally generate our own by selecting the data that we want to show, right? So that we can see what how we want to showcase. But once the budget is done, you can give it to AI, data analysis, ChatGPT for a paid version, or and then you can ask it to calculate the ratio analysis again on the budgeted numbers, and compare it with the industry benchmarks. Are these numbers, are these ratios relevant in the industry benchmark or not? If yes, it's good. If not, we may have to adjust. Or maybe there is an explanation that you can give to yourself and don't have to revise the budget. Normally, the management takes a review, it gives an adjustment, or it gives a stretch target. Like my management, always when we give a budget, they always ask, can we do 10% more profits? Can we do 10% more revenue? Can we do 10% more customer growth rates? So we always have to stretch ourselves. So after that, we have to change again some strategies. Certain things need to be changed. Certain assumptions need to be changed. For that, I would say you should create a, model uh, which can be customized and which can be linked. So I have done a sample budget. This is my company template just for showing purposes. It does not have a data, but I just want to show you how a well connected financial model look like and what are the best practices for you to follow. So here you will see it's divided into multiple sheets, multiple files, uh, and it has a setup file. Sorry. Again, so you have a clear setup file to see what are the inflation rate, what are the assumptions. So whenever we are creating the budgets, we have to create a separate sheet to show all the assumptions at one place. And then we have to create a model templates and create and a clear budget guide and say, okay, how you are going to use this template to create the budgets. uh, some input files are there, you can make a reference to it, how you should fill up the information. You can create multiple detailed sheets for to create to put the budget input. So here another sheet which is called budget input. All the inputs are on this particular file. Normally there are no inputs on the other files. There are some, not a lot. So these are clear input files, and how we say what are the expense drivers for each and every line item, and you can use those drivers to create, okay, how much is my expense, what will be here. There's no calculation of what is the total expense. That is available in different sheets. So all these green sheets are the result of formulas, so that we don't really confuse. Now, if you want to give to user find something, you can always copy the format here and give it to them. Once they finish, you can copy paste back, so it's easier to create like this. So you always have to create a simple format. And for the management, we define the reports based on their previous experience, what kind of reports the management need, um, to analyze in details and also in summary format. So we have all these reports defined based on our previous experience with the management, and it's just easy. So here you can see it's very long format. And these are the reports that we normally design for management, which are looks pretty much formatted, beautiful, and easy to read, right? And we define them separately so that we are not really disturbing the reports quarter wise, year wise, and everything else. So that's how you can generate. These are not really generated by AI. So, and you cannot be generated by AI because way too much of information and way too much of work that manual intervention can do it in a better way compared to AI. After that, you can create all the reports. Once you have finished everything, then your budget is ready. Now, here are certain things that I would like you to take a note as a closing remarks for this particular presentation. After this, we will open for question and answer session. If I have make any hurry in skipping any part, you can please ask your questions to me now. You can think about that now. Once we finish this slide, you can ask. So there are common pitfalls that we want to avoid. One is over reliance on the past data, and this is something I have been practicing and personally feeling it. Uh, Now lately, we like this year we did our budget. Right, it's a true story, and we did our budget based on last 2 years of data, and we thought, okay, this particular hotel we will not be able to make a much of revenue, so discount it. This particular hotel we should, because in the past 2 years we have been doing good. Oh, it's gonna we can do even 10% more. So we made our budget based on the previous year data, and we over relied on it. There was no economic indications that, oh, there can be a slowdown or there can be anything else. No, we didn't really thought about that. But in reality, the actual the reality becomes completely different. For certain hotels which were doing very good, suddenly the consumption pattern changed and the customers moved to another location. So the hotel which we were thinking will not do anything good did a very good job, and the hotel which we were thinking will do a very good did a very poor job. uh, but that came because we over relied on the past data. We did not really thought about the changing in the customer patterns. We thought we get the previous year data, we look at economic report, we look at the general competitors, and we are good. But we didn't really pay attention on the customer uh, changes in the customer demand, changes in the customer behavior, changes in the interest of the customers. And we also relied on the assumption that the flights number of flights to that particular location will increase, but in fact they did not increase, they reduced, right? So over relying on the past data is can be a pitfall that you want to avoid by doing additional checks. Second is ignoring the impact of external factors such as like competition, regulatory environment can be very, very dangerous. Like for example, in Myanmar now, at the moment where I am, there is a political instability, right? Uh, Currency is depreciating every single month by 2%, 3%, 4%. In the last 1 year, it has depreciated by over 50%. So these are the things that we cannot avoid. And because of this, there are new regulations coming every single day. There are new sanctions on the import. There are new policies on the exports. There is a new policy coming around the tourism. Okay, we allow this tourist visa, we allow this visa on arrival, or all those kind of things are happening now. So if you're not paying detailed attention to that, then we may be doing a wrong information. The third pitfall that I would like you to avoid is setting unrealistic goals. Now, you can say in your business that I want to grow my business 5% every single month. Means total in a year, I want to double my business. Right? It's good to think, good to have that kind of target in the mind, but it's not good to budget them. Right? Why? Because one, there is no unless there is a documented proof that yes, you can continue with that pace. You have to be realistic because you will compare your actual performance against the budget in the future, and the more difference it shows, the more desperate we become, and that's a reality. It's based on my experience. If our budget is somewhere in within the 5 to 10% range, we are happy. We make efforts to reach the budget in the next time. But if our budgets are like 50% off, it just breaks the morale of everybody and say, hey, we did whatever we wanted to do, and the budgets are way too high. They are unreachable. Then what happens is the team stop trying to reach the forecast, try to reach the budget at all. This can be a very dangerous situation. Then focusing only on the revenue is again a big mistake. If you're not focusing on cost management, you may be losing out the profitability and operational efficiency. So do proper attention on cost. Even though it's a small cost, it is a cost. Every single dollar you save is every single dollar you earn. Then you have lack of review and control mechanisms. As I said, documentation of assumptions, creating audit trails, documenting the sources of information is a very critical aspect of creating a defendable budget. If we are not really looking at the a control or a review, then we may miss certain things. If you're not doing error checks, if you're not doing sensitivity analysis, if you're not doing the sanity checks, you may miss the information. You may overrepresent the information, which is not a good thing. So we need to have a control mechanism at every single module so that we know whether these modules are within our accepted error range. Budgets are not perfect, they cannot be perfect, but we can make them as reasonable as we can. Okay, so that's the conclusion of this. You can use AI tools to help you get started with the budget and forecasting, make it a bit more faster, and make sure you carry out you have enough resources, enough information to be able to do a proper planning compared to a non-AI era where we have to find and read every single information and do it, or based on our human guts, compared to now with the researched data. So that's the conclusion of this class. Now we can open for question and answer sessions, and you can type your questions in the Q&A or you can type in your chat panels. I'm happy to answer them now. Alex, if you would like to take control for doing the polls, you can also do that. Any question, folks? Alex, you there? Jim, have any question? Anthony, Gina, Rebecca? Yes, you are audible too.